So I'm thinking of starting this new series where I review popular programs from either brands or fitness influencers and give my opinion on them. And I'm not going to review them as a bodybuilder or someone who trains for bodybuilding, but more so in a manner that aids in reducing bias whilst keeping in mind who these programs are targeting. And the first one of the series that we're kicking off is a 12-week program created by Women's Best, a popular brand that produces things along the lines of sportswear, supplements, etc., targeting women primarily, hence the name, Women's Best. They released a 12-week home workout plan, and I figured because of the situation, that would probably be a good one to start with. So, we're going to crack on. So to start, it probably makes sense to cover who Women's Best actually affiliate with as influencers. So you have the likes of Krissy, Cela, someone who we've previously done a video on a while back. You've got Tammy, Hembrow, someone who I recently did a video including, and Brittne Jackson, someone who I haven't actually spoken about before, but is seemingly making quite a few moves in the fitness industry from what I've seen. So they've obviously got a stable foundation of who they support and who support them regarding influencers, which is obviously going to help their marketing. But what do they actually promise regarding the program? One of the key things that's highlighted here, they claim that you can achieve your dream body in 12 weeks. A bit of a bold claim, as anyone who's into fitness knows that this stuff takes time. I mean, I've been chasing my dream body for God knows how many years now, and I definitely haven't achieved it yet. And plus, dream bodies depend on the individual. You can't really claim that they're going to achieve their dream body when you don't really know what their dream body is, and whether it's actually achievable, especially within 12 weeks, which is unlikely. Regarding progress, they kind of discuss how you should measure yourself in 3 different ways. One of which is being looking in the mirror, fantastic. Another means is the scale, so they put a lot of emphasis on your scale weight, which I know a lot of people can question at times, and that's very much up to you, whether you believe it's something you would like to rely on. And the third one is progress photos, which again are a great means of tracking your progress. The program kind of follows a basic structure of 4 days a week. A full body day, an upper body day, a lower body day, and a cardio day, which alternates between HIIT and LISS, so low intensity steady state, with the order of what you're training being determined by the week. So weeks that fall onto odd numbers will train following structure A, and weeks that fall onto even numbers will train following structure B, so it alternates between the two. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And it is just a basic home workout as you expect. Primarily a body weight home workout with some equipment thrown in there as well. Realistically, I can't bash it too much from the initial standpoint because how complex and how extravagant do you expect a home workout to be? When you're limited to equipment and likely limited to time, I can't really slaughter it because it does what it says on the tin. So after reading through the program thoroughly and having a research, I'm going to alternate between pros and cons, what I believe are good about the program and what I believe are bad about the program. And the first thing we're going to start with is a pro. It places a good emphasis on stretching and warming up, which is fantastic. A lot of programs I've seen don't do so, and that can often lead to a lot of injuries occurring, a few niggles here and there. But then flipping onto a negative, the program as a whole is extremely repetitive. Granted, like I said previously, how extravagant do you expect a home workout to be? But if you were to follow this kind of program, please really limit your expectations as to what you're doing. You do one session, then you do the next, and you go back to the first and back to the second, and back to the first, back to the second, etc., for 12 weeks. I guess it's just a means of trying to keep it somewhat fresh, but realistically, you're doing 2 different sessions per area trained. It doesn't really expand much beyond that. Throughout the program, you'll see a lot of simple explanations regarding what is actually being included, i.e. what is a circuit, what is this, what is that, which is great to see. Because if someone is new to the gym and this is perhaps their first ever program, this is pretty decent in terms of laying down the definitions of simple terminology. Things that you and I may potentially overlook, but someone who's new to the gym may actually have no knowledge of. Flipping to a negative, it kind of gives the illusion that it's body weight based, but that's not necessarily the case. There are a few times you'll have to implement things like Swiss balls and other equipment, so an equipment list throughout the program or earlier on in the program would probably be a good shout. A simple one to cover now is how visually appealing it is. How they've designed it is simple, effective, and it looks clean. Personally, in a program, I like to see something that's simple, clean, and just looks like it flows. It hasn't been overcomplicated and hasn't been overthought. The demonstrations of certain movements, i.e. the squat, aren't necessarily good ones. How they explain you should do a squat isn't necessarily how I would teach people, personally. No talk about depth, there's no covering knee travel, etc. The demonstrated squat is maybe to 90 degrees at best, with the knees are well behind the toes and the shins are bang vertical, which is not necessarily realistic. But as a whole, they do offer detailed explanations of exercises later on in the program. Although it's not actually shown throughout, you have to kind of skip through the sessions, get to the end to then see how you're actually meant to do the exercises you've probably already performed. And at times it is a bit questionable. There's quite a bit of bro science lingering around there. It talks about stretching being great, which I agree with, but then it kind of goes on to explain how stretching is great at developing body consciousness and learning your body, which I don't think it should necessarily be worded in that kind of way. Realistically, you stretch for a purpose. And on top of that, a few more stretching examples would be nice. As I said, they place a good emphasis at the start about why stretching is important, which is great, fantastic, I agree with that, but they only give a few demonstrations of what stretches you could perform. A few more, maybe multiple per muscle group, would probably be a decent shout for a lot of people. But as a whole, as I mentioned throughout, this program seems like it could be quite suited to somebody who's new to the gym, is potentially limited with how frequently they can train due to work, life, whatever that may be, and somebody who wants a simple workout that doesn't require a massive amount of equipment that they can just do whenever they see fit, and that probably won't take them a very long time, which can easily be adjusted based on your fitness levels, i.e. doing more in the given time periods, etc., which kind of makes auto-regulation quite easy, which is great. But overall, if I had to give it a score, I'd probably give it a 5.5 out of 10. If you're considering joining the gym but aren't quite ready and you want to build up a basic level of fitness and understanding of the movements you will likely perform or replicate in the gym, this could be a great shout, almost like a stepping stone along your journey to getting to the gym. It is what it is, it's a home workout, so you can't expect mass amounts. There's always going to be pros and cons, but it's not bad. If you tolerate the video and want to see more, like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know.